profound that I don't see anyone who can understand this. So therefore, I rather sit myself in the forest for my own contemplation. Then the kings, Indra and Brahma, they made more requests, strong, fervent requests to Buddha Shakyamuni. Then finally Buddha Shakyamuni started to give teachings. Okay. So he said, this is so profound. Now in contemporary terms, physics, particularly quantum physics, Niels Bohr, perhaps we can say, we can credit him as the father of the quantum physics. Niels Bohr, what he said is that if you study quantum physics and if you're not shocked by it, you have not understood it. Right? Okay, so this is the subtlety of the quantum physics. Likewise, it's the subtlety of the wisdom of emptiness, which the Buddha indicated, and that it is so profound that hardly anybody can give teaching. So then, hardly anybody can understand it. Then, at the request of the two kings, the Buddha then was first thinking of giving the teachings to his own teachers, true teachers. And through his clairvoyance, he came to realize that both the teachers passed away by then. Then he turned towards Sarnath, and his first five disciples, the human disciples. In fact, how these five were connected with him, with Prince Siddhartha, since many lifetimes ago, is very interesting. These five were in fact the demons. In those many lifetimes ago, these five were actually five demons who always feed on the human blood, human flesh and human bones. And then they were, going around, and finally they entered in a place, and to their amazement, they realized that they could not get any food from that particular area, which means they could not harm anyone. And then they disguised themselves in the form of human beings and asked the young shepherd boy, as to, is it that the people in your place cannot be harmed by outsiders or the spirits like this? Then he said, that's very true, nobody can harm us, because our king, not a king, our prince, one of the princes, his compassion is so intense that his compassion protects all the subjects of the kingdom. Then they become even more enthusiastic. Okay, now we found somebody who's very compassionate. We'll go to him, then we'll ask for blood, food, and these things. So he's very compassionate. So they went there. So this prince, since early morning, he was busy distributing, his charity to the poor people who are just in line, the queue. And then five of them also set themselves in the queue. And finally, it was their turn. Then the prince asked them, what do you want? Then they said that we are very hungry for the last 1 week. We do not have anything to eat. And he felt so compassionate. He asked ministers to give them food, these things. Then they said, we don't eat human food. What do you eat then? We eat only blood, flesh, and the bones. Then the prince said, I object harming others. How can I possibly get you, the flesh, bones, blood, and so forth? Then what do you do? We are not actually human beings. We came in the guise of human beings. We are demons. We are hungry the last for 1 week. Then this prince felt so compassionate, and suddenly a thought came in him that I'll give my body to you, not others. Then he ordered his ministers to bring knife. Then he cut his own flesh and give them. So when he was giving this to these five demons, he said a prayer. This young prince said a prayer that today I'm feeding you with my body. When I become enlightened, may I be able to feed you with the dharma. So after many lifetimes, then this prince became Buddha Shakyamuni, and then these five demons take birth as the first five disciples of the Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay, this is it. So then what happened? The Buddha started to give teachings. And all these teachings Buddha gave also referred to as the 84,000. 84,000 teachings. These teachings, and sometimes there's also mention of 80,000. Both are correct. 80,000, 84,000. You may be wondering how come that both are correct. 80,000, 84,000, a difference of 4,000. Why 84,000? Why 80,000? Was 80,000 since Ananda became the Buddha's attendant. Since Ananda became the Buddha's attendant. Now, what's the relationship between Ananda becoming attendant of Buddha and the 80,000 teaching? It's because the Buddha, as he was aging, then the disciples, they requested the Buddha, please give an attendant. And the Buddha accepted. And the disciples were to decide who the attendant would be. And they saw that Ananda, who was also the Buddha's cousin, they saw that Ananda would be the right choice. So they made a request to Ananda if you would accept to be the Buddha's attendant. Then Ananda said, if the request is made to you, what would be answered?
Yes.
Of course, what an honor, right? But Ananda said, provided he laid a condition. Ananda laid a condition. And the condition was the condition?
That he will be attended in every teaching of the Buddha.
This is a nice way of putting it. Is it correct? But it's nice way. He said that Buddha will teach only if he is present. Right? In other words, Buddha should not be teaching in his absence. This was his condition. And then they were a little surprised. Of course, everybody wants.
Self-grasping.
No. There's a reason. There's a reason there. Then they reported this to the Buddha. So our choice is Ananda, but Ananda laid this condition. What should we do, sir? Venerable sir? And the Buddha said, it's fine. It's fine. So I will do as he likes. I will teach in his presence all the time. So since he's becoming the attendant of the Buddha taught 80,000. Before him, 4,000 already taught. So therefore, 80,000, when you say 80,000, that is the teachings of Buddha given since Ananda became Buddha's attendant. Right? 84,000 since beginning, since enlightenment to the end. Okay.
What is the reason?
Okay, the reason. Good question.
What can be the reason?
The reason.
The reason is that the Buddha Shakyamuni, at the age of 81, then he assumed to passing away. So the Buddha Shakyamuni's biography, there are two. Don't forget it. There are two biographies. One is the historical biography, and the other is the uncommon biography. Historical biography means that anybody, even ordinary people, can accept it. But the uncommon biography is the real biography, which only the enlightened bodhisattvas can comprehend. According to the uncommon biography, he was already Buddha since many lifetimes ago. So what made him do, under Bodhi tree, 6 years of austerity, and then finally become Buddha? These are all like the displays. These are all like the displays to encourage people how to follow the path. Whereas his real biography is very different. And the real biography is actually nowadays available in English. It's translated into English. You can get it from 84,000 the translation project. If you Google search 84,000 translation project, so there the project is started by the Giant Khyentse Rinpoche and the Khyentse Rinpoche. This is a brilliant project, amazingly great project. Really, it will be of great service to the Dharma. So in there, they are focusing on translating the sutras and the Kangyur and Tengyur from Tibetan into English. So this one, the uncommon biography of the Buddha, is already translated into English. It's available from there. You can freely download them. I think the title is something to do with like the spot of the great play. The spot, S-P-O-R-T. the spot of the great place, something like this. In Tibetan, it is the Dorji Rulpa. Dorji Rulpa. This is the Tibetan title of the sutra. It's known as sutra. The spots of the great place, something like that. Okay. So the purpose of for Ananda to do this, to make this condition was that Ananda he already foresaw. So it much before the need for for him to be there in all his teachings, because after the Buddha assumed Mahaparinirvana, which means the Buddha passed away, then the next heir of the Buddha was Mahakashyapa. Mahakashyapa was appointed as the second heir. The first heir, which means the representative. And then after Mahakashyapa, Ananda. So when Buddha Shakyamuni passed away, at that point, the Ananda was not Arhat. Ananda was not Arhat. Okay, anyway, to cut the story short, that the Mahakashyapa, he wanted to compile all the teachings of Buddha, because the teachings are getting scattered, they're going to be getting lost. So he wanted to compile all the teachings. To compile the teachings in those days, only the Arhats, what they say, what they could recall of the Buddha's teachings are considered very standard. So therefore, he wanted only the Arhats to compile the teachings. And of the Arhats who are particularly close to Buddha Shakyamuni. So one, Mahakashyapa himself, other the Ananda, number two. So Ananda for him to gather the teachings, because he had to recite them by heart. So if he had not received teachings in the absence of the Buddha, he could not do these things. So in order to protect the teachings of the Buddha, in order to preserve the Buddha's teachings, that it is not that it does not disappear. Okay. Then the Buddha Shakyamuni started giving teachings after the kings of the celestial beings. They requested, and all his teachings, the 84,000 teachings, they are subsumed under what is known as the three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. This is so important. Three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. And 2 days ago, today is
Wednesday.
17? 18. So 18. Then on 16th was the day of the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. The day of the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. 2 days ago. Okay. So the three turns wheel of Dharma. This is extremely important. We have to know these things. Three turns wheel of Dharma. To know this so well, we need to know three things. The place where the turnings were, the wheels were turned. Then the audience and the subject matter. These three things we have to know. The places where the teachings were given, and the target audience, and subject matter. What was the subject matter of each of these three teachings? Okay, the place for the first turning is Varanasi or Saranath. Varanasi or Saranath, the place. Then the second turning wheel of Dharma, the place is Rajgir. This morning we talked about Heart Sutra in Rajgir. Rajgir is the place where the second turning wheel of Dharma was done. Third turning wheel of Dharma in Vaishali. Vaishali, Vaishali. That is the third turning wheel of Dharma. Now, to know the target audience, we need to know what is known as the 4 Buddhist schools. So again, these numbers we have to make sure that we have them by heart, on our fingertips. What are the 4 Buddhist schools? Any idea? Huh? No, that is Vaibhashika. 4 Buddhist schools, not the 4 Tibetan Buddhist schools. At Tam Buddha, there's no Tibetan Buddhist schools. We are talking about the 4 Buddhist schools. Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Chitta Matra, mind only, Chitta Matra, Madhyamika. Okay, these four. We have to know these four, right? We have to know these four. And then I'd like to share one thing with you. That let us not think that, okay, these are very technical, I don't know. No, we all have the capacity to know these things. We all never underestimate your potential. Seems to be very technical, but they are not technical. They're easy. Just put a little bit of effort. We all have the capacity to know all these things, right? And these things will come over and over again. If you know these things, then you get a feeling that you know everything. So therefore, it's very important for us to learn these things. Vaibhashika, the first one is Vaibhashika. Second one is Sautantrika. Number 3 is Chitta Matra. Number 4 is Madhyamika. 4, right? Okay, now to know the target audience of these 4 teachings, these 3 teachings, we need to know the 4 schools. The first teaching, where was it given? Varanasi. So Varanasi, first teaching, the target audience was the first and the second school. What are the first and second school? Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, right? Sautantrika. These two schools were the people who accept these 2 philosophical schools. They are the target audience of the first teaching, first turnover of Dharma. Second turnover of Dharma, where was it done? Rajgir. So there, the target audience is number 4, not number 3, number 4. Madhyamika, number 4. Madhyamika, people who advocate the philosophy of Madhyamika, they are the target audience of the second turnover of Dharma. And what is the third turnover of Dharma place? Vaishali. Third turnover of Dharma. And the target audience is number 3. Chitta Matra. Right? Okay. So now I will explain a little bit what is really meant by these 4 schools. Even if you may not be aware of what these 4 schools, don't worry. I'll explain them in simple terms. 1. The Buddha taught that what is number 3? Number 1 is the place. Number 2 is the target audience. Number 3 is subject matter of the teaching. What's the subject matter theme of the teaching? The first turnover of Dharma, subject matter is known as the 4 Noble Truths. First turnover of Dharma, the subject matter is 4 Noble Truths. 4 Noble Truths. The first turnover of Dharma, the subject matter is 4 Noble Truths. Okay. Number 2, the subject matter is emptiness, wisdom of emptiness. Number 2 is wisdom of emptiness. Number 1 is 4 Noble Truths, subject matter. Subject matter of the second turnover of Dharma is the wisdom of emptiness. Or sometimes it is also known as the teaching on the character, the teaching on the characteristics, the teaching on the emptiness of characteristics. Teaching on the emptiness of characteristics. This is number 2. Number 3, the subject matter is known as the teaching of the non-distinguishing. No, teaching on the distinguishing. Teaching of distinguishing the 3 natures. Teaching of distinguishing the 3 natures. 3. Number 3. Distinguishing the 3 natures. Okay, I'll explain each one of them. So, what is the content matter of the first teaching? 4 Noble Truths. Number 2, the wisdom of emptiness. And number 3, distinguishing the 3 natures. Distinguishing the 3 natures. Okay. So now, I'll make it easy. First turnover of Dharma, the Buddha taught the 4 Noble Truths, indicating that the 4 Noble Truths exist truly. Indicating not only Buddha taught the 4 Noble Truths, but the 4 Noble Truths to be truly existent. Right? And in the second turnover of Dharma, Buddha taught the emptiness, which means nothing exists truly. First, the Buddha taught Four Noble Truths exist truly. And second rule of Dharma, Buddha said, wisdom of emptiness, teaching that nothing exists truly. Okay, so when the Buddha first taught that Four Noble Truths exist truly, the first two schools, they were very happy. They were very happy, they left. Then the second rule of Dharma, when the Buddha said nothing exists truly, the fourth school, which is? No, the fourth one? Madhyamika. To the second rule of Dharma, the fourth school, Madhyamika philosophers, they are very happy, right? Okay, the Buddha said nothing exists truly, so this is the ultimate intention of the Buddha. So they become very happy, they left. Who's left now? Only Chittamatra left. So Chittamatra, they were confused because their intelligence is average, right? So they were confused. The first one is the less intelligent one. The second one is brilliant ones, and the average ones were left now. Everyone's they were confused. Say the Bodhisattva in Tibetan, his name is Bodhisattva Thundam Yandapa. Thundam Yandapa. Bodhisattva Thundam, Dhondam, Thundam, Yangdak, Yang, Dhag, Yangdak, Phak, Dhon, Dham, Thundam, Yang, Dak, Yang, Dhak, Phak, Thundam Yandapa. So this Bodhisattva, on behalf of the Chittamatra philosophers, he raised a question to the Buddha during the third turning. So he asked a question to the Buddha. So the venerable, the fully awakened one, the Buddha, in the first turning, the Buddha taught that Four Noble Truths exist truly. In the second turning, the Buddha said nothing exists truly. So now we are confused. And there must be a reason why the Buddha taught this, the contradictory teachings. There must be a reason. So what could be the reason? Then the Buddha interpreted his own teachings. So the third one is known as the teaching on distinguishing. So he interpreted his own intention, earlier two intentions, and that interpretation came to be known as the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. You getting it? That interpretation which the Buddha gave, why he said the first turning that Four Noble Truths exist truly, why in the second turning he said nothing exists truly, so he interpreted that, why he said, interpret that. That interpretation came to be known as the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, which is the distinguishing the three natures. Okay. Now the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, it is not as simple as how I said it. In actuality, what happened was that in Vaishali, very near?
Used to it.
Used to it, yes. Okay. In Vaishali, again, in the congregation of the incredibly the advanced bodhisattvas, very high level bodhisattvas, Buddha Shakyamuni was presiding over that. And then the bodhisattvas like Are Manjushri, Are Vurukateshvara, Are Maitreya, and then Bodhisattva Thundamiyandapad, Bodhisattva Are Vajrapani, all these great bodhisattvas were present there. And then 10 bodhisattvas asked 10 different questions to the Buddha. Right? So including Bodhisattva Thundamiyandapad. So the question he asked was related to the first and second turn of wheel of Dharma. So that the response given by the Buddha to the question asked by him came to be known as the third turn of wheel of Dharma in the context of interpreting the first and the second turning. So otherwise, third turn of wheel of Dharma is the teaching is not just one section. It was the response given by Buddha to the 10 different questions by 10 bodhisattvas. Okay, so from this, how His Holiness the Dalai Lama sees this 3 turnings of Guru Dharma, is that first turning of Guru Dharma, the Buddha laid down the ground for us. First turning of Guru Dharma, 4 Noble Truths in general. 4 Noble Truths in general. And what are the 4 Noble Truths? Okay, I'm sure we all have this. Truth of suffering. Reasons. The truth of the causes of the suffering or the origin of the suffering. Number 3. Truth of the cessation of suffering. Then truth of the paths leading to the cessation. 4 Noble Truths. Okay, these we should have on our fingertips. Okay, first one is truth of suffering. Number 2 is the truth of the cause of suffering. Right? So, first is the result and second one is the cause. Cause effect. How, with these 2 cause and effect, we suffer in samsara. Now, how can we get out of the suffering? Then number 3, number 4. Number 3 is the freedom from suffering, or cessation of suffering. Cessation of suffering means freedom of suffering. Number 3. And how to get rid of this? How to achieve that state? By the 4, a path leading to the cessation. Number 3 is the truth of the cessation of suffering. And number 4 is truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So these 2 form how to be liberated from suffering. The first 2 form how we are trapped in samsara. And number 3 and number 4 tell us how to get out of samsara. Right? Okay, this is very important. Okay. Then when we do the 4 seals, then the 4 Noble Truths, we'll try to incorporate the 4 Noble Truths in there as well. Okay. The teaching the 4 Noble Truths, that laid the ground. They laid the ground for us. Okay, how we are trapped in samsara. Right? What is suffering? And how the suffering is created. And then the truth number 3 and number 4, how to get out of suffering. What is this like if we don't have the suffering, and how to achieve that state. To number 3 and number 4. So this tells us the ground. Once you know this, then the second turning of Dharma, that explains in detail. The truth number 3. What is truth number 3? The cessation of suffering and its causes. What exactly does it mean by the truth of cessation of suffering? What exactly does it mean by you becoming freed of suffering? What exactly does it mean by that? So for that you have to understand emptiness. So second turn of Dharma is to elaborate on the freedom which we are seeking. Then the number 3, third turn of Dharma is to elaborate the truth number 4. What is truth number 4? The path leading to cessation. The path. What kind of path should we resort to? What kind of path? Say, the truth of cessation is the state of the experience. Experience of the state of mind, which is freed of suffering. Then this experience of the cessation is to be experienced by your own mind. What kind of mind? A very subtle mind. Very subtle mind. So the third turn of Dharma explain the clear-light mind. Clear-light mind. Clear-light mind. Clear-light mind. Okay. Number 2, it explains the cessation of suffering, which should be understood in the context of the objective clear light. Number 2, second turn of Dharma, which explains in detail the truth number 3, truth of suffering, truth of the cessation of suffering, with emphasis on the objective clear light. I'll explain what objective clear light is. I'll explain it. Okay. Number 2, second turn of Dharma emphasizes on the objective clear light, and number 3 explains the subjective clear light. Number 3 goes in detail the subjective clear light. Union of the two clear lights, objective clear light and subject of clear light, is the subtlest mind to eradicate all our mental stain.